Good evening, welcome. If we could call this meeting to order, and if we could please start with a moment of silence for prayer or reflection. Thank you.
First order of business is adoption of the agenda.
Any additions? Okay, seeing none.
Next, we have adoption of the minutes from our last meeting on September 7th.
Any errors or omissions? Okay, seeing none.
Moving on to presentations. Our first presentation is item 4.1, Citizen-Facing Digital Strategy Update Phase 1. Redesigned website and My MH Citizen portal. We have Colleen Graham, who's our Director of Corporate Communications, and Craig Fruin, our Manager of Application Services, here to give you a demo.
Welcome, Colleen and Craig. You have the floor.
Hi there. Hear me okay? Like mentioned, my name is Craig Fruin. I'm the Manager of Application Services for our Information Technology Department. I'm joined by Colleen Graham, our Director of Corporate Communications. We're here to provide a brief update on a citizen-facing digital strategy and give you a little bit of a demo about what we just recently delivered. So, in late 2020, with the issuance, if I should get this going to me. Okay, so in late 2020, the citizen-facing digital strategy set out with a few goals in mind. Leveraging new and existing technology to improve the customer's journey, provide better service to our residents and customers with less effort, streamline the request process, and minimize the duplication of effort, as well truly make doing business online easier for our residents and customers. So the first phase of the CFDS execution is delivering a modernized digital platform and supporting technologies will set the foundation for the city to achieve those goals. All right, so phase one was really around the redesigned website and develop a mobile channel. So we coined this the My MH portal. Some of the community benefits of this is new website is intuitive and mobile responsive. So it's actually quite breathtaking once we get to see it. Easier to find information and report concerns. The new digital platform, website and portal build capacity to bring more services online as they can be safely integrated with our back office systems. The big point here is the launch of the new website and portal will further drive digital transformation to better serve community. Business units will be encouraged to think digital first for their services. So I'll now pass it over to Colleen to discuss the website strategy and provide a brief showcase.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Craig, and thank you, members of council. I'm so excited to be here tonight to share with you our newly designed City of Medicine Hat website and provide a little bit of a tour. So this project has been in the making for about a year, but the need was arising long before that. The city's previous website was approximately 10 years old. It was built on technology that's now become outdated. And over time, the content had become quite clunky and hard to navigate. So we know our website is the most important tool that we have to communicate and engage with members of the public. And we knew that we weren't providing a user-friendly or convenient experience. Now more than ever, our community expects that. And even during the pandemic, of course, this has been amplified more than ever. But municipal websites are very complex. We cover a broad range of topics, from street sweeping to business permits to recreation options. The needs of our audiences are very diverse. So how do we take such a vast amount of information and create a website that's helpful to a variety of audiences with diverse needs? How do we improve the experience for our community? So when we embarked on this project, we came up with a number of priorities to focus on for website redesign. So the first one was a reimagined architecture with a user-first approach. So those of you who are familiar with the old city website know that when you were looking for information, you needed to know what department that service was offered in. It was based on our departmental structure. So if you were looking for information on, say, assessment and property taxes, you needed to know that that information was housed within the finance department. Now, for those of us who work in the city, that's quite convenient. But for those of us, other members of the public, that presents a significant challenge. So it was really important that we recategorize all of the content on the website to make it more intuitive for visitors and kind of look at it from their perspective. The second priority was to streamline the content. So when we embarked on this project, and we had some outside help working through this, experts, they advised us that a municipal website should be about 250 pages. At that time, ours was 800. So we had a bit of work to do to start to streamline content. So that was an important focus. Not only the number of pages needed to be streamlined, but also the amount of content within each page. So research indicates that people read and scan about 20% of the content on any given web page. So it was really important that we streamline that content and lay it out in a way that's really easy for the eye to scan by using bullets, accordions, lists, headings, things like that. So that was a major area of focus. The third one was mobile responsiveness. Nowadays, we know that over 60% of our web traffic is coming from mobile devices, so it's very important that our website is just as easy to navigate on something like a smartphone as it is on your desktop machine. There was also a significant focus on changing our writing style and how we talk with the community. So one of the things that we did was we started developing all of our content in the first person. So we at the city and you as a community member, we really wanted to speak in that personalized voice. And the other major change is that we've really tried to avoid the use of jargon on this website. We use a lot of technical terms within the city, but as a community member, it's far more likely that you're going to search for garbage collection rather than solid waste collection. So we were really mindful about the language that we used on the website. Accessibility standards were also really important. We wanted to make sure that we complied with established accessibility standards to ensure that visitors with visual impairments or lower English proficiency, that their needs were met. And then finally, we wanted to ensure that we have an improved governance framework going forward. So we have formally defined the oversight of the website as well as the management of the day-to-day processes to ensure that it's sustainable and effective in the long run. So that was a little bit about the strategy. So with those priorities in mind, we created a new site. Hopefully I can navigate to it very easily here. There we have it. So this is the new City of Medicine Hat website. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough on the homepage and then show you a few features that we're particularly proud of or that we think are going to really go a long way to serve the community more effectively. So you'll notice right off the bat that we have 6 main categories of information. That's our main navigation. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later and actually dive into the content. But I'm just going to do a kind of a slow scroll through the home screen and walk you through some of the features. So the first piece that we have here over our main banner photo are 3 call to action areas. So these were determined based on analytics that we had on our existing website, inquiries that we know customer service receives a lot of. This is an area where we've decided to populate some quick links for transactions or information that people are looking for frequently. Of particular interest is the report a problem function. So we now have integrated some of the software that we currently use in the city in the background to make this process more intelligent. So on the old website, our report a problem function, if you reported a problem, it generated an email that came to my department. And staff in my department would then say, who should this problem go to? And they would start making phone calls to say, hey, is this your department that would handle this problem? And that department would say, yes, please forward it our way. Now we have a drop-down selection. Once you activate that form, you indicate what your problem is that you're trying to report, and it will automatically direct that problem to the relevant department and manage the workflow in the background to ensure that it's taken care of. So that's a great example of some of the technological advancements we've made with this new website. If we scroll down further, we've got 7 areas of content here. These are basically also quick links to frequently searched topics. So this was also based on analytics, knowing exactly what our visitors are most commonly searching for. So you can see we've got applications, licenses, and permits. That's a section now where all of that information is housed in one area, where before you would have to go to whatever department offered that permit and find the information there. So this is another good example of stripping out that organizational structure and making it more convenient for our users. We've got our bidding opportunities section, maps, e-utility, FLC, garbage and recycling, and Medicine Hat Transit, all commonly searched for topics within our website. This next portion here, it's a promotional area where we can take subjects that are of particular interest or very topical in the community right now and provide some quick access to that information. So you can see there's room for up to 8 sliders, 8 photos in this carousel. And it's a great opportunity for us to just change up the content on the homepage based on what is most relevant at the time. We move into our news and events features, which is obviously very similar to our last website. This full width feature is another opportunity for us to just promote important content within the city. So right now we're featuring Invest Medicine Hat, Parks and Rec, as well as utilities. And then we do have some quick links at the bottom that point to some of our external venues and external websites, as well as just some content within the website that we really want to promote to the community. And then, of course, we want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, you can sign up for e-notifications for our website. So if you click on this link, you can sign up for the news releases that we issue. You can sign up for council, all of the meeting schedules and agenda packets, things like that. And then I did want to draw particular attention. Of course, this website has only been up for 5 days. So we're still working through a lot of kinks. We know there's still some gaps there. There's going to be a lot of improvements we want to make. In the meantime, while that work is underway, every page of the website, you can scroll down to this footer and activate the website feedback tool. So that generates an email directly to the corporate communications department, where we can either correct a typo or work with stakeholders within the organization to improve the content that's on that page to better meet our community's needs. So if you would indulge me, I would like to walk you through just a little bit of the main navigation of the site so that you can get a better idea of the thinking behind the site's architecture. So home property and utilities is a perfect example. If I hover over this section, you can see all of the content that's within that area. This navigation item is a good example of how we're trying to put ourselves in the residents' we're trying to look at it from the resident's perspective in order to build the content. So as you can see, if you look through the list of sub-content in this area, it's everything from taxation and assessment to animal services to utilities to trees and gardens. It's basically everything you need to know as a property owner within Medicine Hat. Now, in the former website, you would have had to access all of that information in a variety of different areas. We've tried to bring it together for one audience's needs. Community safety and support obviously outlines the emergency service providers in our community, as well as some of the other community support programs the city is affiliated with or offers. Parks, Rec, and Culture, obviously that is an example where we've kept that content together, even though that Parks and Rec actually is the name of a department, but that obviously is a topical area for the community. I'd like to feature, the Family and Leisure Center page. So we've really worked hard to make this content more user-friendly to the community. FLC is a section that's been completely redesigned and rebuilt in order to better serve that audience. So all of these, it describes the facility assets right here, and then all of these links right here link directly into the FLC registration system so that you can quickly find what you're looking for and register for programming. So that's FLC content prior. It was cumbersome. It was difficult to find what you were looking for. We really streamlined that area. Roads, parking, and transportation, exactly what you think would be there. That's where you'll find airport content, as well as content about roads, parking, etc. And then the business and development area. This is a great hub for anyone who owns a business in the community or is looking to start a business in the community, or a developer. even contractors as well that are doing work within the community. And actually of particular interest here, I would say, is the contractor zone. Oh, I did it again, excuse me. And third time's the charm. And fourth time's the charm. There we go, got it. Yeah, we're working on that glitch. Actually, I should share that with the everyone who's watching at home. So the contractor zone is another good example of where we tried to take content from a number of areas, bring it all together for one audience. So if you're a contractor that does work in the city of Medicine Hat, this page is going to be a great resource for you because we've brought together a whole variety of pieces of information, building permits, development permits, trade permits, standards and specs, subdivision developments, all of those kinds of things in one area for our contractor community. And then, of course, government and city hall is a really diverse area as well. That's where you're going to find all of our organizational information and whatnot. But what I did want to draw particular attention to here, and I'm going to have to move really quickly. Yeah, we're working on this glitch, I do promise. And there, got it. City projects. So this page is going to be of particular interest to the community. There are so many initiatives going on with the City of Medicine Hat right now, and this is the area that you're going to want to bookmark on the website to keep track of what's going on. So here is where you'll see our major projects map. So that's actually facilitated by our GIS team. So you can go here and see where all of the city's major projects are going on right now. If you hover over them and click on them, you can see the details of each project. We also have a road closures map that operates quite similarly. And then we do have a featured project section where we talk about a lot of the different high-profile projects that are occurring within the city right now. This is, of course, not an exhaustive list. We do cherry pick a little bit what we think is topical or significant for community members. And of course, we're always open to feedback if we feel like there needs to be some modifications. So those are the 6 main sections of the website. The report a problem feature is also featured up in the top navigation here, so we want to make it very convenient for users to be able to report those concerns to the city. I also wanted to draw attention, we now have a Google Translate tool. So we know there's a lot of new Canadians in the area. We now have the option. We did the last time I checked. There is a Google Translate tool powering this website. It does seem to be a little glitchy right now. Ah, there we go. I was just not quite clicking on the right spot. So you can click on one of these many languages offered and it'll translate the website into that language. So this is obviously a very important feature for people who are new to our country and English is not their first language. So that is the very brief tour of the new City of Medicine Hat website. We really wanted to showcase a lot of beautiful photography and really try and illustrate to our local audience as well as to the world that this is a beautiful community to live in. And we're really excited to work with the community more on this. In the coming weeks, we will be launching a formal opportunity to provide feedback, but in the meantime, as I mentioned earlier, there is that website feedback tool that people can report concerns or recommendations to us. Don't get website feedback confused with report a problem, 2 very distinct features. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Craig, and he's going to provide a bit of a tour of the My MH Citizen portal.
Like I said, a very, very stunning website. The more I get to look at it, I learn something new every day. All right, so one of the things that we were really trying to do was to provide more of a mobile channel. So something a little bit more user-friendly on your mobile device. So with the launch of our MyMH portal, which is up in here in the top of the bar, what we're gonna get is what I call a dashboard. It's really a good way. So as you could see, Colleen showcased a lot of different services that were available to the residents of Medicine Hat. So this will give you that custom kind of experience to be able to customize what you got going on. So here, you have multiple ways to log in. You can use your favorite social media identity providers, Facebook, Twitter, or Google, or you could do it with your email and password. So I'm just gonna log into my test account here, and then we'll see what's available in the MyMH portal. As you can see, it consists of a bunch of different boxes which are referred to as widgets. These widgets are all basically focus points for different things that you want to draw your attention to. So we have alerts, and these are pulling right from our website. So this really allows us to notify our folks when things aren't working. As you can see, Colleen mentioned that there are glitches, so we have a calendar, e-notifications are not working right now, and we're providing that availability to, or that information to our residents through the portal as well as our website. It also integrates with the calendars that are available on the website as well and pulls it right here for everyone to see. And then you have different content that we can provide. Obviously, COVID-19 is important for us, and big election coming up here on October 18th. More information can be seen. So you see there's a plethora of different widgets that we have available, and there will be more to come as we kind of work through this. But what it's going to allow you to do is really customize and streamline your way of getting to those services in what is important to you. Because as you can see, there's lots here, right? So the big thing is I want to showcase is around how you can customize your dashboard. So you can edit your home screen to allow you to see what is important to you. So if I'm very inclined to looking at community events, I want that for all the way up at the top. I can make sure that it's there. As we've seen, the major projects that might be interesting to folks, you can move that around, and that's going to be customized to your experience. It's associated to your profile and allows you to navigate to what you want when you want to. The big thing that I want to pay attention to or draw attention to is this is property based. So when you register for the system, it's going to ask for your address. And if you have multiple addresses, you can have that as well. You can see here that I set up like a home and a couple rentals. And we can switch between those, and it's going to drive certain areas in those widgets. The one widgets that I didn't talk about were called location based. So it picks up based on your property to showcase you a little bit more information that is close to you. A good example of that is our garbage and recycling collection widget. Based on the address that you have selected, it's going to showcase you your zone and your pickup dates. One of the things we tried to do too is Recycle Coach is a big thing that we're investing in from our from collection and recycling. So we want to make it nice and easy for you guys to integrate with those mobile applications as well, making it available so you can just click on Google Play, it is going to launch you or make you download that app, which is going to be very complementary to our widget here. These there's notifications along with this as well, so when those things do change, you will be notified through email or through the app itself. Notifications can be seen up at the top. You have notifications up here. You can see the news. The latest one that we have, washroom and lighting project begins in Strathmore Island Park. So that's straight from our website that you're going to get those notifications in which you can control. The way that you can control your notifications is to take a look a little bit more at what you want to see. So you can view more on careers. So if you're interested in applying for a position at the city, you can subscribe here and go into your settings and make sure that you get your notifications in the way that you want them. You have your notifications of app only, so that means it's just going to show on the website, or you have the ability to have it email you immediately, or you can have it sent to you on a daily summary. Out of default, it is app only, so if you do want to get custom emails coming to you on a daily basis, you'll need to modify your apps or your widgets to do so. You can get into the all widgets if you want to say, hey, I want a daily summary of all the changes that have occurred on those widgets that I'm subscribing to. All right. It's just easy like that, save, and then you're back to your widget, and now you know you'll get a daily notification at the end of the day when there are changes. So what I'm gonna do here is I wanted to showcase how those location-based widgets are working so you can see that it is actually pulling different information. I'm gonna move that up, and I'm gonna pull the other one as well, road closures. We know road closures has been a hot topic in our city this fall, and you can see that with all the different projects that are happening within inside of the city. So I may want to know road closures that are close to me. I want to know some information about garbage collection. So I'm going to save that. And you can see right now that this is a custom experience for this address. So what's going to happen if I'm going to switch my property view, that this whole view is going to change slightly. So I'm just going to quickly save back. And you can see that it has gone back. So you have to set that per area, but what I want to showcase was, if I can find my widget now, is the different zone and different road closures that would be showing. So the road closures here are based on a proximity of, I think 5 kilometers of your address that you have selected up here. And obviously the garbage and collection is changed in zone 2 based on that property there as well. 2 things I want to show you real quick here too is basically mobile. So I've been saying mobile channel, and we've been showing you guys the websites in full disclosure. So I'm just gonna show what it will look like when you navigate to it on your phone. This is the view that you'll get. So it's more of a collapsed view of what you'll see. You can still expand everything out the same way that you were before, view more, and you're gonna see that is gonna work for you on your mobile phone. So that's a big thing, is we want to focus on the mobile ability of our website as well as the portal, because as Colleen mentioned, that is 60% of our traffic. We also have a nice feature here, which is going to take us back to our website, which is help. So there are things when you want to, if you want to learn how to do more about what I just quickly showcased to you, you can go back here to the help. It's going to navigate to you to our wonderful website and showcase a little bit about how you can work through that on our support page here. Okay, so go to the support center and it will showcase how to use that site, sign in, add, remove, and switch addresses, manage your notifications, customize your dashboard, and change and reset your password. So those are some of the features that I was trying to showcase today. And just as a bit of a segue, we are gonna look at which was our coming soon widget, which I'm not seeing here anymore. Maybe I got rid of it. All right, so I'm gonna switch back to the presentation now, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what is to come. Do some catching up. All right. So next steps really. So as you can see, the redesign website and Medicine Hat portal is a pivotal step in achieving the goals set out by the CFDS. The website's going to bring people there. We're going to bring those services online and make them more of a focal point. So the continuous improvement of the site and the portal will enable more report a problem features. So when you'll go to the report a problem that we showcased a little bit today or mentioned today, there is a few things you'll see, potholes, debris, and clean up like that. We'll be adding more of those services online so you can submit more service requests as we roll on different departments there. The big thing is tax and assessment. So that season is coming upon us quickly, and we really want to drive out more of those features to be able to retrieve notices and check your balance and things like that. We want to also improve our registration and payment processes. So that does mean more online payments through the use of additional online forms and other services. So you'll see that as we go. We didn't really showcase forms today, but you'll start seeing more of those forms online. So rather than printing off PDFs and filling them out, you'll be able to do that directly right on the website. So next steps for us. Really the next phase is to take a look at some of the other websites that the city has for digital assets and really bring them to a common look and feel to make that journey of our citizens more consistent. It'll be less frustrating for folks as you move to more of that seamless customer experience like I mentioned, and collaborate further with business units to bring more services and processes online. This is a big thing, and we'll definitely need help from the residents, and we'll be soliciting feedback as we go on to get more of that information about what our residents do want to see. The big thing was providing the website for everybody to see so that I can get the juices flowing and we can start building upon it. So that's the end, and we'll just take some questions now.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hirsch.
Well, Craig and Colleen, well done. You know, I share Colleen's excitement she came down giddy as all get out, but, and you know what, quite frankly, well, it's very well received. I actually, and most of us, well, all citizens likely would have stumbled on the City of Medicine Hat website back in the day. I can only count it as being clumsy. You're right, it was difficult to maneuver. So we've kind of moved this and advanced it to the I'll call it the 21st century, but certainly cutting edge. I'm very happy. It's funny, I knew this was coming, I knew the conversion happened. I went just as a person seeking information the other day. I forgot about the website. One of the things that you looked at, it's got certainly a lot of data, but the one thing I really appreciate is the search bar, which is right in the center, that said, what are you looking for? And I just put in a keyword and bang, it was effortless and quick, and it got to exactly what I was looking for. So, you know, yeah, and you're right, the whole display is crisp and clean, and I love the pictures and the definition, and really I like the fact that the mobile app, because a lot of times and one of the things we talked about earlier on is the ability of a contractor to be on his phone, sitting in their truck, looking for data, or in fact, maybe making an application or doing a permit. It's not only that's the point, it's supposed to be functional. So again, you know, well done. You know, I'm really proud of this. I think the intention was to certainly get this in front of everyone, and now that it is, yeah, I think you know, hopefully get some balanced feedback as you're looking for. And I encourage everyone to take a look and try it out and certainly get it, and give the feedback where necessary. But, you know, for a first crack at this, it's really well done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Dumanowski.
Well, excuse me, Your Worship, Councillor Hirsch said a lot. I think what we want to say, and that's an extension of our appreciation, obviously. As a citizen myself, looking through the website a couple years ago, mind you, found it very difficult. It was dog licenses, believe it or not, and it was buried, and I was like, this is maddening. I couldn't find it, and I remember thinking and reflecting that I wonder how others felt about it. But it's always nice to be able to say those comments after you have something new to present. But in the context of bringing ourselves up to date and making things relevant, because as much as we love technology, some people love to hate technology, we need it. It's an interface between our work, our play, and our lives every day. And City Hall plays a huge role in that. And there's not one facet of your life that when you live in a community like ours that isn't touched upon in some way, and you're always asking questions. The one that I think was available but has evidently been improved is the one where you can report a problem. That's one that often as a counselor I'll get a call or an email, I have this issue, and then you contact the department and they'll say, well, we'll get a hold of the resident, and there were how many plays of conversations and emails back and forth just to report a light standard that's out or a pothole. Little things like that. And the more we can make that simple and direct, it's not just going to make counselors' lives a little bit easier, but it's going to make people feel like they're enabled themselves to do something about it. So little things like that make a huge difference. I was going to ask about the search menu because no one tried it. I do know on lots of sites that are pretty up to date, over time, when you get into that search thing, it starts to lose its relevance. It takes you to a buried document of things that is no longer easy to navigate, but it sounds like you guys have the algorithms down big time there. So the last thing, and maybe a question, is the interface between the public. Then you had talked about you can put things that are more topical or relevant to the public kind of front and center, but are there any back-end algorithms that are monitoring what people are going to so that you can, without having to get feedback, real feedback, because a lot of people aren't going to do that, but you can say, hey, we notice there were 800 people that went to this particular area. We should bring that up somehow or highlight that or even make it easier to access. So you probably have that built into the system, but I maybe want to answer that quickly, and then I'll just wrap up.
Sure, absolutely. Through the chair to Councillor Dumanowski. So yes, we do have that data. So we'll be running reports frequently on the analytics of the site. So that's set up through Google as well. So we do have the ability to see not only what content is being searched the most frequently, to know that we need to ensure that is very close to front and center. We also have the ability to see where people are leaving pages quickly because they're not finding what they're looking for. There's a lot of data that can be gleaned from the analytics. And as I mentioned earlier, we have an updated governance framework for the website. So part of that means we now have a dedicated resource within corporate communications whose sole job is to manage this website. So that was just through some rearrangement of duties within the department. So with that position, their responsibility will be exactly that, to be monitoring those analytics, to make recommendations to the rest of the group and work with the organization to ensure that we are using data to make good decisions.
Yeah, so thank you. And very quickly, just to wrap up, I'm very pleased with this. I know our public will be. And I love the honesty. And you can't get it better than to do it live and see that there are glitches and there are things that can be improved, and you're committed to that. And so the public needs to give their feedback, and you can only do a beta program or a test program for so long, and then you put it out there and you want that feedback. So I'm pleased that you're being honest about that, and just congratulations.
Thank you.
Councillor Varga?
Thank you, Your Worship. Colleen and Craig, thank you for this. Even though I'm not a tech-savvy guy, a lot of times I go to the City of Medicine Hat website looking for things, and being out in the workforce, we always try and find different departments, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to find those departments. And you answered my question with updates. You're going to be updating it all the time, right? Sometimes in our old website, we've got stuff on there from way back, and it's old information and it's not kept relevant. So hopefully that helps us in the future for people actually getting the information that they should have for the time being right now, not from 10 years ago. But one question I do have, I'm not that tech savvy, and I always think of my mother that's 85 years old. What have we done for them other than keeping the phone book relevant for the people that have to give you a phone call and answer the phone, right? Because she doesn't go on a computer, she doesn't have a phone that she fools around with and looks for information. What do we do? And Medicine Hat has a number of people that probably are that way, where they don't have a laptop, or they don't have a computer, or they don't have the phone to do that. They might have a phone, but they don't play with it like we do. What have we thought of for those people in our community? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Really great question. Earlier in June, one of the things that we launched was a single number. We redesigned our interactive voice relay system to be able to usher our residents to different departments where they need it. Very much structured like our website is too, those top bars that we had. So that's kind of the menu items that you're going to be provided. So that phone number is 403-529-8100. And what it's going to take you is to some menu options that's going to allow you to get to those services that you're looking for. That's the approach that we took, and that was launched earlier in June, really using some of the same analytics that we did for the website for what people were looking at, just so that we can start connecting all those different agents that we have here at the city through one mechanism and one phone number.
So I appreciate that, and unfortunately my mother lives in Regina, so maybe I can ask her if she can do that on her phone when she phones City Hall when she does have a problem. So I'll have to ask her that and say if she doesn't, then they should look at Medicine Hat's website or phone numbers and see what's happening here. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Friesen.
Well, thank you, and to both of you and your teams. It isn't a single effort, I know, and it was one that really took a lot of thought. I can't even imagine the process you went through from the beginning, knowing what you were wanting to achieve, you know, the purpose and what you were aiming for, to get it from what it was to where it is now. Magnificent piece of work, and I just, if almost everything's been said, but I just think that the user-friendly aspect is so important. That and the fact that the initial information people see is relevant to them. It means something to them. So I see that in here. I applaud the use of language, all of those kinds of things that make it more relevant to people. But so often when you go to a website and you're looking for something, if it doesn't hit you pretty darn fast, you're out of there. So I don't see that here. I really like it. Like Councillor Dumanowski said, I've gone and looked for things too. And you don't even, all the years I've been here, I don't know all of the different, departments everything belongs in. So you're fiddling around and trying to find it, and then you're cheesed off and you leave. So this is a marked improvement, and I really like it. I wanted to compliment you as well on the use of incorporating languages. for new Canadians, or others who just don't, not everyone speaks the same language. I really applaud you for doing that. And the other thing I want to just touch on the search function. So I wasn't just playing with my phone for the fun of it here. I thought, well, I'm just going to try a search. And so I find this interesting as well because what I put in was business, just business. And so it took me again to a screen that, like, it really makes sense. It outlines, the word business is highlighted in a number of different ways. So if I want a license, or I want to do business, or if I want to start a home business, it's all here just in that one search function. So I don't even have to go through and try to maneuver that. So you've got it all, I guess my comment is you've got it all tied together in one way or another, so it cross-references. And I'm really taken with that as well. So thank you both very much.
Councillor Varga?
Sorry, just another question, Your Worship, to Colleen. How many pages did we get down to?
Through the chair to Councillor Varga, very good question. We are down to about 320. So we're still slightly above average, but of course we all know that Medicine Hat is a special municipality that has a lot of features that other municipalities don't. So we justified it that way.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one comment? This was an example of impeccable execution. It's been a long time in the works, has taken a lot of resources, and it was customer-focused, citizen-focused, right from the very beginning. These initiatives, though, don't start with administration. They start with a conversation about strategic priorities that occurs at the council level. And it was about 2 years ago that this council adopted the strategic priority that set us in a direction to focus on improving communication with our community. I couldn't be more proud of this example of impeccable execution that occurred with this group. Please stay tuned for more of it, and thank you, Council, for your support of this strategy.
I'm going to make some numbers up, but this is also part of the Financially Fit initiative. To deal with a customer who just walks into City Hall to pay is a $10 cost to taxpayer. A phone call is $4. This is one. And it's almost on that magnitude of scale, so thank you. Any other questions or comments? Can we get a motion for reception?
So moved.
If we could vote? And Councillor Friesen, for some reason you've been, no, I think you've been blanked. I'm wondering. Yeah, okay. Yes, please. Okay. And that was unanimous, thank you.
Our next presentation tonight is Joe Cartwright, Director of our Integrated Project Planning and Execution Business Department, and he's here to talk about grant-funded projects. Give us an update on our MSP and ISIP projects.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, everybody. Try not to forget any of the steps here. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to give you an update on where we are with some of our stimulus projects. So there's two essential grant programs that I wanted to update on tonight. First will be MSP, so the Municipal Stimulus Program, which is a provincial fund. And the second is ISIP, which is Investing in Canadian Infrastructure Program, which is a federal fund. And there's some slight differences and nuance in the two programs, and we'll definitely get into some more detail about what those are and how they came up and how we decided to apply and put the projects in that we did. But just to start off with some quick facts, and I think I'm here representing a much larger team and a much larger group of folks who actually are doing the projects and the project management. So I'm here in more of a coordination facilitation role, but it's taken an enormous amount of effort. We've essentially have about $20-some million worth of projects that were unplanned and not really on the books. And when these programs came in,
we didn't have a lot of time to get the projects put together, get the scopes put down, and then once we actually got approval to get design and construction started. So it's really been a dramatic, say, just about a year now since the projects got incepted. And they're not done, but we're certainly in a good position. Also wanted to, I guess, just say too that we are in the construction or implementation phase. Shouldn't go back. For 43 separate projects. So the projects that I'm going to go into, a lot of them involve bundling or putting a lot of like projects together into a larger program. But there are 43 separate areas or locations that we're dealing with. It is cross-departmental, so we have project managers from our Municipal Works Department, from our software group, Transit, and our own project managers within Facilities and Parks and Recreation. So with them is all the supports that go with that. So our Health, Safety, and Environment Department have been really critical in making sure that the projects are properly risk assessed and put in with proper controls. Our procurement group, we were meeting frequently with them because, again, to get these projects up and going and get the request for proposal out to the contractor community really meant fast tracking a lot of our normal processes to make sure that we were getting that money out to the public as quickly as we could, or to our contractor community as quickly as we could. Planning and Development Services, our Budget and Treasury Office, and our accounting group. And I missed it here, but our corporate communications group. So really assisting us with just trying to let the community know what the projects are, what the status is, and try and get some excitement in the community, because these are really community-facing projects that are designed to bring some new kind of growth and liveliness to some areas of the city that we haven't seen before. And we're up about $23 million of project value. So between the two grants and the City of Medicine Hat contribution. So it's a significant push and focus for us. So I'm going to start in with the Municipal Stimulus Program. It was a grant program provided by the Government of Alberta to municipalities for capital infrastructure. The intents were to sustain and create local jobs, enhance provincial competitiveness and productivity, position communities to participate in future economic growth, and reduce municipal red tape to promote job-creating private sector investment. So the program was announced in July of 2020, and we had to have our submissions in by the beginning of October. So we did get those in by the end of September, kind of about just to the last couple days that we possibly had, because anything that was not allocated or put towards a project by October 1st, we ran the risk of losing that funding. So again, just trying to give some scale in terms of the timeframes that was required to actually get these projects in and submitted. And MSP funding is limited to projects that would not have gone forward in the absence of support for the program. We did receive approval from the province on November 12th, 2020. So it was all systems go at that point. As soon as we got that notification that we were approved for the 5 projects, and I'll go into them in a second, started design, and some of those had already started design actually. We jumped the gun as much as we could actually. But the 5 projects are BMX track upgrades, Gas City Campground site enhancements, multi-cart, sorry guys, just getting over a cold, so still a little bit, don't worry, it's COVID-free. Multi-court pickleball facility, our multi-use trail development, and the town square waterfront development. So I'm going to start in now into just kind of a step-by-step breakdown of the different projects. I'm going to run through the MSP ones first, and then we'll go through the ISIP grants after that. So the BMX track upgrades, it's an existing dirt track that's up there, so doing some improvements on the track, but the big part is really a new start gate. So it's a larger steel structure that will bring us up to international standards, which qualifies the BMX club to host some larger events. So provincial-wide events, international standards means that we do get to bring in groups from a lot further away. So it was a good tie-in with some of the tourism that goes around BMX and the events that they host, and bring in some of those outside tourist dollars. So the current status of that, we did have a budget increase. One of the, I guess, consistent themes that we're seeing through COVID is an increase in material supply. And in this case especially, structural steel out of the United States. So It was a specialized item. There's really only a couple suppliers in North America, and both of them were down in the United States. So we've had delays with getting orders in just because of supply chain issues through the supplier through COVID. But we are set to be on time. We will have the project done by the end of the year. And right now, it's just, we're kind of waiting for the material to arrive so we can get the steel erected and up and going. Second project is the Gas City Campground enhancements. So scope on this one, we're upgrading the non-service and single services site to full service. So power, water, and sewer at the extra loops right now that don't currently have those services, as well as the construction of comfort camping cabins. So it's a different camping experience, a bit more of that glamping experience, but again, bring something new to the community and to the Gas City Campground that we haven't had before. Status that time, we are on time and on budget. Just waiting for the shutdown of the Gas City Campground before we can go in and finalize installation of the cabins. The multi-court pickleball facility. So we are looking at a 20-court installation up at the Family Leisure Center. This is intended to be a premier facility. So again, the sport of pickleball, definitely seeing a lot of growth internationally and certainly in North America. This is going to put Medicine Hat on the map, or that's what we feel anyway, where it's a definite destination in terms of the court capacity and the quality that we're going to see in the facility. So anticipate hosting a lot of events and working very closely with the pickleball group on that one. Currently on time and on budget. Next project is a combination of three sort of distinct projects. It's the multi-use trail development. First is the trail from Gas City Campground out to Echodale. If you're a mountain biker, I guarantee you're going to be impressed by this project. It's a new network of mountain bike trails leaving from the campground out to Echodale. I'm not a mountain biker myself because that would be dangerous and really irresponsible of me. However, I have had a chance to go out and walk a good chunk of the sites, and it is going to be quite something. So something, again, that is a bit more of a Medicine Hat destination, looking to bring in mountain bike enthusiasts from all across Western Canada. Second part of that is a pump track. So looking to do a pump track installation out at the solar array site. And the last part is South Railway. So there's a now active use trail that enters into the downtown core through South Railway. Status for all three of those is on time and on budget. And the last MSP project is the Town Square, our waterfront development. So that one is a project to enhance sustainability of downtown by developing a dual-use parking lot and event space. I think there's been probably a lot of attention from Invest Medicine Hat on, I guess, the drive and the start of the waterfront development through the Town Square project. The status for this one, we are slightly delayed. Again, we're seeing some materials shortages through the pandemic. Specifically on this one, trying to find electrical panels and electrical equipment has been difficult. So it's delayed us by a few weeks, but we're still anticipating to be substantially complete by the end of the year. As well, there was a budget increase to get to the full scope of that project, being a bit more of a destination or that starting point for the waterfront development. So that is MSP projects. Moving on to the Investing in Canada infrastructure program. So this one came out a month after the MSP, so we had got together as a group, and I think probably should have mentioned a little closer or sooner, but on the MSP projects, really looking to hit the criteria of, could we complete it by December 31st? Do we have things that were shovel ready? Was there projects that had some public excitement or things that we could generate some public excitement, and it could not increase operational funding or result in a tax increase? So those were the main criteria for the MSP projects. The month after, when the federal government announced the ICIP projects, that essentially let us go back to the list that we had started to create for the MSP and just continue on in using that same criteria. So it's essentially very similar, other than, and this time, we had an opportunity to also invest in projects that were a bit more infrastructure based, so the things that sometimes are a little more behind the scenes. So when we talk about hot water tanks and roofing projects, they aren't exactly public excitement projects, but they were ones that did need to get done, and allowed us to shift some of our other capital funding over to other projects. So just a bit of a spoiler alert on that one, I guess. So the COVID-19 resilience funding was how the government framed up the ICIP. This is grant funding that had already been applied to Medicine Hat, or Medicine had been successful in procuring, and that's for future transit bus purchase. So it gave us some more flexibility in how we could use that remaining funds, and to the tune of about $10.9 million worth. So we allocated that from the future transit bus procurement to 13 new projects. The grants covered up to 80% of total project costs. Design and engineering fees were ineligible, so City of Medicine Hat funds were used to supplement the extra 20% that was not covered by the grant. The original completion date when we put in the projects was also December 31st, 2021. That has now been extended to December 31st, 2023. So it's definitely given us a bit more of a cushion in terms of completion of the projects. Our intent is to keep the pedal to the metal. We have the project manager, staff, and the projects engaged. We would much prefer to keep that on schedule and push through to get those complete as quickly as possible. With perhaps there might be some other grant funding in the future too, so want to keep our resources able to engage that. So we did get 13 separate projects approved, keeping in mind that some of these are kind of bundles of a lot of smaller projects. An example of that is the athletic ball park upgrades. I'll go into detail in a minute about what was kind of in scope and out. We have the City Hall Services mobile app, which a good example is with the citizen-facing digital strategy, is what you just saw from Colleen and Craig. It paid for the website development. Equidale reforestation, Equidale water treatment plant enhancements, some fire and security alarm upgrades, some hot water tank replacements, pedestrian cycling trail development, pedestrian bridge deck repair, some roof replacements, some makeup air units on the rooftops, our sidewalk development and rehab, transit technology upgrades, and 533 First Street Edition. So for the athletic park ball upgrades, looking at a lot of sort of small bits and pieces that add up to a much more enjoyable user experience. So we've got upgrades to the installation of a shade canopy, perimeter wall upgrades, so all the new fencing. We have seating area rail additions and an upgraded ticket office, which should make it a lot easier to get in and get your ticket and get through into the concourse immediately. Stats for that one, we are on time and on budget, and I gotta tell you, I'm really looking forward to kicking back for the cold one and watching the Mavericks play next year. We are looking at some potentially delays. We created some new box seats kind of right behind home plate. There may be some delays on the netting, still working with the suppliers on that one, but it will be open and ready to go before first pitch next season. And on the technology side, I've lumped together our transit software tools. So those are tools that are looking at an enhanced user experience. So the ability to pay mobile with electronic fare collect, as well as some AVL for some better placement of the bus and some routing, and as well the citizen-facing digital strategy and the City Hall website, and as well as some of the upgrades to the back architecture were all included as part of that technology piece, and those projects are all on time and on budget. Equidale reforestation, so kind of an interesting project. We're looking to plant a host of new trees at Equidale Regional Park. So increases the tree canopy by providing a cooling effect for community enjoyment of recreational activities. Essentially, we're giving some shade out at Equidale in a place that hasn't had it in quite a number of years. If you talk to our arborist, he'll tell you the best time to plant a tree was 15 years ago. I think Councilor Varga would probably agree with me on that one. We're trying to get ahead of future opportunities out at Equidale. So by getting the irrigation system in now, starting to planting the trees, we've got them located basically along the coulee face as you walk west to east out towards that other small campground area on the east side. So it's anticipated that's going to stay out of the way of any future Equidale development, but it does allow the start of some tree growth out in that area. For this one, we have delayed the planting. We didn't want to put in new trees in the fall So we are having the installation of the irrigation will be all set to go, and then we'll start the planting next spring when it's a better chance of growth and survival for the trees. As well, Parks did put aside some more of their tree planting budget to go towards this initiative as well. Also out at Echodale is enhancements to the water treatment plant. Just so you're aware, the water that's in the swimming lake and the fish pond is treated. So it comes from the river, goes through the water treatment plant, and is put into the pond out there. So it's a dated facility though, so it hasn't had major upgrades really, other than some small controllers since about the 80s. So this one was a chance to do some repairs and upgrades to the current treatment plant out there. Doesn't necessarily increase the capacity, but it is doing some upgrades to what was out there already. And those are on time, on budget. We've got everything on site. We were just waiting for the swimming hole to be drained before we can finish off the project. The facility upgrades, so I've lumped together some of those facility-based projects. Upgrades to the fire and security alarms at the Gas City Campground and Gas City Kiwanis Center. Airport and fleet roof replacements. Esplanade and the FLC got new hot water tanks, as well FLC and Police Station got HVAC replacements. So on time, on budget. Again, not necessarily the sexier projects as you were from a public perspective, but projects that needed to get done. So it was nice to have the grant funding available. This is an exciting one. So in terms of creating some excitement in the community, I think this has been a big one. Pedestrian and cycling trail development. So the project included rehab and installation of 3-meter wide multi-use asphalt trails in a number of locations, some of them large, some of them definitely a little bit smaller. But Carey Drive is probably the one that's most noticeable to the community, other than the South Railway project, which was part of the MSP grant. Carey Drive's a 3.2 kilometer long trail that goes from Dunmore Road to the top of Sholton Hill, and definitely connects a number of trail amenities that are in that area. Sunset Park, Vintage Park, Flanagan Park, and I'll be really honest with everybody, I'm not exactly sure where all these parks are. So I've got some exploring to do this summer and definitely looking forward to it, or this fall I'm looking forward to it. Police Point Park, East Glen Trail Network, which included a large part along the Ross Glen and East Glen area, 100 or 1,500 meters worth of improved trail in that area. And those projects are all on time and on budget. The one, we did have a project when we initially put in the submission for Strachan Road. Due to some technical limitations, that project wasn't able to go ahead. We pivoted very quickly and put in a new submission for Fire Station Number 1 boat launch. So it's a bit of a stretch in terms of being a trail development or trail enhancement, but it was a shovel-ready project that we had all of the environmental permitting in place. Design was complete, so we were able to engage that one and get it added, the scope added to that part of the project. So Fire Station Number 1 boat launch is included as part of the pedestrian and cycling trail development. Pedestrian bridge deck repair. So project included deck repair, rehab, sealing, protective coating application to a number of the bridges, overpasses, and boardwalks and stairs. I won't maybe go through all these because there is a number of them. But it corrected a number of deficiencies and repair work on some of the older bridges that hadn't seen any care and attention for quite a while. So it was a chance to clean off some of the graffiti, put new top coats to increase pedestrian safety going across the bridge decks, and look at some of the structural components as well with repairing some concrete work around some of the abutments. So it was, it's definitely been a nice project and nice to see those bridge decks come back to life. This is another one too. So sidewalk development and rehab. Again, it was a chance for us to really concentrate on some of our older areas and rehabilitating some of the concrete issues that our asset management group told us that we needed to address. So repair and rehabilitation of existing concrete sidewalk using various techniques, including concrete shaving, mud jacking, resurfacing and removal and replacement were required. Also included construction of some new sidewalk in some of our areas as well. So that is on time and on budget, and actually they are just about completing all of the, I think, or will be shortly, completing the last little sets of projects for the sidewalks. And the final project for ICIP, 533 First Street Edition. So just a shot of the aerial. I noticed today they were putting up the forms to get the foundation poured. But the project includes the addition of office space to the existing city facility at 533 First Street. And that allows us to consolidate a number of city departments that are currently in leased spaces. So there is going to be ongoing savings to the city by consolidating those groups under city-owned space in the downtown core, so close proximity to City Hall. That one, we are experiencing delays again, and I think actually this is a great news story because we've worked with our contractor on this one to devise a new supply for steel. So again, we're seeing a lot of delays and shortages in structural steel, but we looked at a new fabricating solution that's actually local, which I thought was a fantastic initiative by our contractor and by his suppliers. So that when we had enough money with the ICIP grant to get the shell of the building put up, they're still working with with budget for the internal outfitting. So depending on which groups are going in there, get the outfitting complete for that, and we'll have a budget amendment coming through for the internal for next year. And that is the end of the projects.
Very informative, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Hirsch?
To be lucky tonight with my first questions, but, you know, Joe, I think it just bears repeating, and you did allude to it, but I just really want to put a flashlight on the fact that this was completely out of scope of what the city of Medicine Hat was planning on doing. So we get these offerings in the form of grants, and these aren't done by the corner of the desk. They had to be on time and on budget, or you lose the funding. They had to be all sorts of projects that we as a city of Medicine Hat never considered, which is just quite bizarre from us from a strategic planning perspective. So I was just gobsmacked to see kind of the listing, and a lot of that actually resulted in a lot of frustration in the community because they said, you know, why didn't you think of this, and what's with your planning? And really there wasn't any. And I don't actually even apologize for it because we were trying to just scramble to try and find projects that would add value to the citizens of Medicine Hat. So when you go around the city of Medicine Hat, everyone's saying, geez, it's so busy, I see detours, and well, now you know why. There's just a massive amount of projects on the way. So I think it's important for us, and maybe if you don't mind elaborating on some of the massive efforts of logistics that you had to do to incorporate these timelines, the projects, and I'm thinking more of the strategic execution team. And maybe if you don't mind highlighting and what that looks like, because really to see the on time and on budget repeatedly, and the only reason it wasn't on time and on budget is because of supply chain issues, which is welcome to COVID, is just an absolute, in addition to the maintenance of our city that is just normal, which is busy enough as it is during the summer season. This honestly, and I can't speak high enough about it, to try and coordinate this, and maybe I'll just give you the floor to kind of highlight, and if you don't mind, toot your own horn about the team that you guys led and all your involvement, because it really is a massive undertaking.
Through the chair, and thank you, Councillor Hirsch. I appreciate the opportunity, because you're right. I think it required the city to pivot very quickly. We had plans in place. We had our project managers and our staff fully tasked for a 2021 construction season. So when these projects came out, it meant being very agile and pivoting very quickly. So we formed what was called a stimulus execution team, or the SET group, and so that was some members from our project management group, which I'm representing, as well as Invest Medicine Hat, Planning Development, and our procurement group. So we tried to keep a very lean team that looked at the opportunities, looked at what the list was, and looked at what we could accomplish through the grant programs and push the envelope where we thought we could push the envelope in order to get the projects up and going as quickly as we could. And it absolutely, I think I tried to get every group in there, including our executive actually too, who went through some late nights trying to define out what what success looked like for the projects, what was in scope, what meant the most for the community, what are ones that we could actually be successful on. So team effort to get there. And we're not there yet. And I guess, you know, I'm always cautious to take congratulations until, you know, the ribbon cutting events at the end, but very encouraging right now.
And I get it, and, you know, we're still not at the finishing line, and we get updates all the time, so we certainly appreciate it, but I think it bears repeating that the fact that due to your efforts, and all the teams related, we got $23 million of unencumbered money that added value to the citizenry of Medicine Hat due to your efforts, so again, well done, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Varga.
Through the chair, thank you, Your Worship. Joe, great what you've done here and everything that's involved in it. I love the piece of news that was in the paper on Saturday so that every citizen of Medicine Hat that gets the Medicine Hat news can actually look at it and see what's being done and to see where the money's being spent. And a lot of it's not our money or taxpayer money. It's coming from the feds and the province. And I remember the province saying when we were at an AUMA meeting or a conference that please have shovel-ready projects ready so that you can go after money from us in the future. So this is an indication of them saying that, and here we are. You got it done real fast. And I always love the aspect, and you mentioned it, that a team looked at it, got together, did some crunching, brought up all these projects, put in the application, and we were lucky enough to get this. Like Councillor Hirsch says, instead of having only $18 million or 18.5, we got $23 million out of this, right? And this is only part of it because we've got a lot of other infrastructure going on within our community too and underground. So that adds into this total too, not that the city's not paying for it, but we do have grants that come in for that kind of stuff also. So it is a hustle and bustle, and we know that the people of Medicine Hat struggle sometimes with the detours and going a different direction, but we're improving our city tenfold by doing some of these things that are in the community right now and what's happening in the community. So good on your team for doing this. And I know it's a short execution time, hopefully, but by seeing that a lot of them are on time and on budget, good on you guys for doing that. So please tell the team that we're appreciative of what's happening, and hopefully the people of Medicine Hat see the value in what we're doing here in Medicine Hat. The trails, really good. There's a lot of people on those trails up on Carey Drive. I drive there. I'm just a little concerned about going across the road all the time at the top of Sholton Hills. So we got to put some safety issues in place because I don't want to see somebody on a bike whip through there and get hit by a car coming up the hill a little faster than what they're supposed to. So anyways, thank you for all of this.
Thank you, Councillor Dumanowski.
Just briefly, Your Worship, just again, thank you for the update. It's great for the public to see where their money on behalf of the city's initiative is being spent. And one of the things that certainly comes out of this is that it's new money. It's stuff that maybe would have come up or would have been coming up or were on the like list. I mean, we always talk about when we're teaching ourselves and our kids the likes and wants and needs listings. And in this case, we're able to go forward and do some things that are pretty innovative and or an extension of what we already enjoy in our community. And I don't want to start pegging things against one or the other, but for me, trail development is huge. There's just a passion for it in our community, and I think COVID, as difficult as it's been, has really brought out people and accessing these paths and in these trail systems. So seeing that expanded is huge, all of them, but seeing things like Athletic Park, that's my baby, I'm going to say it. For me to see something that every citizen in this community can enjoy. I know Greg Morrison and the Mavericks are looking forward to put on a great next season, so we're going to have an improved facility to do that in. It'll be the pride and joy of everyone in this community. But I want to thank you for the update and just letting us know where we are as far as you know, on budget, on time, or not, and being able to do that. And the point I was going to make is that even though it's election year and it's coming around the corner, this is just business. We're doing business in Medicine Hat. We're doing things like we would normally, but the initiative of you and your department and Mr. Nicolay and others going after the money, because the turnaround time, the public can't I don't want to guess, but I know in many cases, I remember when the city manager came to us and it was very short time. And for you guys to take that from concept to what we're doing now is pretty incredible. So congratulations.
Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you, Worship. Well, the whole point of the federal and provincial governments was to create jobs during COVID, to provide economic stimulus to communities. And had we not had the quick thought of our administration department to put together these projects in a very short time, I know everybody says, well, why wouldn't you have done this or that? Well, sometimes we didn't know that project was needed because nobody had come to us like Athletic Park did, but maybe the soccer people didn't come in time for us to say, we'd like you to build soccer fields and that kind of stuff. But the whole point is, not only did we provide jobs for people in our city, and I'm sure some of the workers came from outside, but they would spend their money here for hotels, food, gas, and all that kind of stuff. But we also had many of our businesses here in town supply the products that build these things, and that kept their people working in their businesses. And so I think this is a win story. I know people say, yeah, but you still paid 20% or you still paid 40%. Yes, we did. But isn't that not good money spent to provide people who were out of work, suffering through COVID? I think it's a really great story, and I do appreciate, I know you've been working that's why you're not showing as much hair as you were just 6 months ago. But anyways, thanks very much.
Any other questions or comments? Could we get a motion for reception
So moved.
Second.
and vote? That was unanimous. Thanks, Joe.
Moving along now to reports, item 5.1, Admin Committee meeting of September 9th with the Airport Electrical Visual Aids Replacement Capital Budget Amendment for adoption.
Make your computer easier.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments besides other than my computer? Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you, Worship. So through the chair to our city manager, this is a really good news story, and I'm wondering, Mr. Nicolay, if you could put through to our managing director of airport on that one of his smaller departments, but nevertheless important, as to why this is such a good news story.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. And yes, Managing Director Maines, if you wouldn't mind just explaining the background to this and some of the excellent work that got done in order to accomplish this year.
Yes, good evening, and through the chair, full credit in this case to Director Bohan and in particular our airport manager, Jeff Huntis. The airport, being federally mandated, has requirements for regular maintenance and upgrades. And like any heavily used, not so much last couple of years because of COVID, but we'll get back at those levels. Any type of facility that is used to this extent will over time have infrastructure deterioration. Our approach system as it pertains to the landing of the planes, the lighting, and ancillary equipment that is used to manage that flow of planes in and out of the airport was approaching end of life. Approximately 20 years of wiring in a very salty soil had resulted in deterioration. We were approaching a point where we would have to expend capital to repair that facility, or repair that infrastructure. Manager Huntis was aware of opportunities for federal funding and particularly as it pertained to small and medium-sized regional airports, and on his own initiative put in an application for funding that would be particular to this particular type of infrastructure. We were successful, and Transport Canada did approve it, and as a result, the City of Medicine Hat and taxpayers received approximately $1 million, just about $1.2 million in benefit associated with that program. The item tonight was just indicative of, once it went out to tender, the costs were slightly higher than anticipated. So the briefing note that's in the package tonight is to represent the city's portion of that incremental cost associated with the tendered item. However, in aggregate, if we look at this, this was a fantastic initiative and resulted in significant less expense to the city on infrastructure renewal. So again, credit to Mr. Huntus and his fine effort on that. Thank you.
So would you be, please pass on to Mr. Huntus that this is the kind of initiative that we want and expect from our employees, and the fact that he got the Transport Canada to provide 95% the total cost of those upgrades, I think is remarkable and has saved the city $1.2 million. So congratulations to Jeff.
Councillor
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. I will pass that on to him.
Thank you. Councillor Friesen?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just briefly want to bring people's attention to the community warmth item, Appendix B of this report. You will, or you may recall, we discussed a meeting or two ago. I made a request that we, for a one year only, that people are allowed to apply to community warmth a second time. Our normal policy is once a year, and that we did have the capacity there to do it, and there certainly is the community need to require it. So this item you see before you then is finalizing that to allow people to apply to community warmth twice in 1 year during these very difficult times for many families. So I'd urge you to support that. And I also urge everyone who does not contribute to community warmth to make arrangements with the city to do that. It's as simple as contributing $1 or $2 or as much as you want on every utility bill payment that you make. You won't even notice it, and it accumulates. And the more people that contribute, it accumulates even higher to help those who really need it. So thank you so much.
Well said. Thank you. Any other questions, comments on this report? All right, if we could vote. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Item 5.2 is the Energy and Infrastructure Committee meeting, September 9th. Just a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
We could vote. That was unanimous. Thank you.
And our last report, item 5.3, Public Services Committee meeting of September 14th with the Parks and Rec Master Plan for information.
I will move the report for information, and if I could just briefly speak to it after seconded.
Go ahead, Councillor Friesen.
Thank you. I know that we've talked about this plan quite a bit so far. What you see here tonight is information for a reason. This plan is not yet finalized. It's had a fair amount of public engagement, public input, but we are not finished. We'll be doing stakeholder input sessions, and there's still a chance for community members, and I urge you to do it, to provide your input. If you have any problems, well, now with the new citizen-facing digital strategy, it will be much more user-friendly, and you will have an easier time finding how to give your input on this. But I just wanted to make a couple of key points, and that was one. We are still in the engagement phase. It will be complete soon, but we want to hear what you have to say. Just a couple of key things, if I could. If our infrastructure in the city a lot of it was built around the same point in time, and it's aging. And it will, we've been able to determine that it will cost approximately $42.5 million in capital to reach 2050. And if you think about other community facilities added in, such as the Y, and I'm not picking on these, but they're just examples, such as the Y or the curling club or other community facilities that still impact you and the community overall, that cost to the community in that period of time grows to over $50 million. So we also know that the community, as demographics shift, as people age, as young people become teenagers and young families, the community desires, their needs, their wants, and their interests shift and change. And so what we have now may not always serve the needs and the interests of our younger folks coming forward as they develop their families. So this exercise is not just one about money. It's about trying the very best way we know how to plan for the future of our community and serve the recreation needs that we'll have. And within this information document, you'll see some options. This is not a final. We're not saying pick this option or pick that option. There's a status quo one. There is one around reopening some or all of closed facilities. There's the notion of phasing, and there's the notion of replacing facilities to increase a lot of efficiencies. Some of the opportunities would be rather than putting that $42.5 million into fixing up aging facilities that will still eventually have to be replaced, they could be retired and put into new facilities that will last well into the future again. Now that's one way of looking at it. It could meet the changing needs in recreation, as I alluded to. We can look at consolidating sites if possible, which will aggregated result in a fair amount of savings. There's potential to meet needs in newly growing areas or areas that don't have much so far. Certainly tourism and growth potential, and we can capitalize on the strengths we have as well as the social and environmental considerations. I can also say that, and you all know this anyway, that the economy, economic growth, business considering coming here, expanding here, it also ties in with what there is for families to do here. So economy, recreation, cultural activities, those kinds of things to do are the whole social economy are very important to families and business as it ties together intrinsically. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I don't mean to lecture about it, but I'm excited about the potential here and just wanted to make a few overall comments.
That was a great summary. Councillor Turnbull?
Thank you. Well said, Councillor Friesen. So my point of view is this is just the first cut of what we want to see for our city going forward in the next 20, 30, 40 years. And as our population grows, growing mostly to the south and to the north and to Ranchlands area, what will our needs be for our citizens for recreation needs? And so what we have to decide after we take this to the public for discussion about their thoughts and concerns is, will we have to build new ones? If we do, when? Where would we build them? And what will be the cost through capital budgeting from 2023 to 2032 to afford to build those things? So those are the questions that we have to answer as part of our future growth. So for me, this is not about closing any facility. It's about knowing that going into the future, as our population increases, what are the needs going to be, and are those needs going to change where different areas of development are? But it has to have good public input, just like we did with waste pickup change when we started that through recycling and the green bins and the new modern pickup like this so nobody gets hurt. River Flats development, Councillor Dubanowski will know, that went to several public sources and meetings to show what was intended to improve the River Flats area. We've even done it in snow clearing. I went to 2 or 3 meetings with the public discuss about snow clearing and what they actually wanted to see versus what we could plan for. And of course, even our trail systems, that people had great input to that. So I think people should just, our citizens should, nothing has been decided. Nothing is going to be voted on by this council until we go through and answer all those questions. And discover what the plan is going to be, and then how can we afford that plan going forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hirsch?
Well, Your Worship, I kind of feel like using our new website to, utilize that report a problem, but, and so, obviously, all of us have been out and about in the community and listening and understanding, and certainly some of the feedback I got was, that hockey dad that has a 8-year-old that wants to get involved in hockey, and as one myself that I had the old 7 a.m. practices on Saturday morning was just fantastic. So a lot of the feedback, and maybe we can enhance our communication with regard to what got us here. And what I mean by that is the optics are, due to COVID, we shut down the Moose, we shut down Crestwood, we did it because of COVID. When realistically, and we really need to have a discussion and a communication strategy as to what really is the rationale and where we're at. And what I mean by that is, this will drive a little bit of the discussion when you say, in an individual facility like the Moose, did you know that it's actually due for a slab rehab? Because a lot of people that utilized it not too long ago, prior to COVID, thought it was a functional building. So now it's now closed, and we're saying, well, it's broken. And it's not broken, but it's like the 1972 Honda that you loved forever, but now the engine's kerplunk and you need to replace it, but does it make sense to put a new engine in, or do you go and get a new vehicle, save the money, and spend it on the new? So that's the challenge. I guess hopefully the feedback we get as we move forward is we can come up with maybe an absolute hybrid plan that perhaps one facility can limp on by until the new one's built, and we close the existing one and finally get that to the finish line because we've got this brand new one. Because I tell you, out in the community, people are feeling that they're losing out right now. They're losing out right now. So never mind 1 year from now, 2 years from now, they're living their lives right now, and I get COVID, but some have hockey practices, and my nephew's doing tryouts and that sort of thing. So I think we really need to be passionate of how we're communicating out in the public in regards to some of these specific locations and facilities that we have, so that they know, hey, we would love to open this up, but really it's unsafe, or we'd love to have this open, or maybe we will open it right now. It is older, but it'll get us by to the new, whatever the decision is. But right now, in the face of closures, residents are feeling shortchanged. And I think we need to do either a comprehensive communication strategy to let people know where we're at in the process. I know you're asking for what the vision looks like, but I think we're missing out on what could an interim plan look like as well, and I think that needs to be focused on. Thanks.
Good points. Thanks. Councillor Varga?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to build on Councillor Hirsch's comments, a lot of our facilities are, like you say, are old. They started out as rinks or arenas that didn't even have a roof on it at the time in 1960. They are 60 years old, right? And there is issues with them all the time, right? And I know that for a fact at the Moose, because we hold our tournament there every year. And there's a brine line that's bad on the one side, so it doesn't freeze the ice along the boards, and where's all the play in a hockey game is along the boards. So it becomes a safety issue, right? So can we get by? Yeah, sure, but there is gonna be problems down the road when there's a hockey game going on, or some kid goes into the boards and breaks his leg or does something like that. But again, we always talk about the long-term plans, and we hate closing buildings, right? I love the Moose, I love the Hockey Hounds. The Hockey Hounds just had a revamp where we put in a new ice surface in there and fixed up the machines that make the ice. But again, we're talking about a 30-year plan, and I just want people to remember, in 30 years, the Family Leisure Center will be 50 years old, right? Because I think it's 20 years old right now, if not more. So in 30 years, in 2050, it'll be 50 years old, and we'll be looking at that building the same way that we're looking at these buildings now. And of course, our co-op place, I think it's just infantry, but in 30 years, it'll be 35 years old, and sometimes those buildings don't last as long as they should either before we need a revamp, so, and an operation cost. So again, I think it's worth the conversation to talk about the things that aren't going so well with these buildings, which we don't want to talk about because it's a functioning building right now. with the capacity that it has right now, but I think it's a conversation that we have to have, and people have to know what shape they're in too, right? And how much it's gonna cost to upgrade and keep them fixed and to move forward, and whether that's viable for, not building a new building, right? It's no different than equipment in my day job with my equipment. It gets to a certain point where you get tired of putting money into it, so you buy a new one so that you don't have to worry about maintenance for the next 5 years. So again, it's kind of the same scenario when you put yourself into that spot. So I think the conversation would be great, and what we do with it, with the input from the residents would be very important going down and going forward.
Thank you. Councillor Samraj?
Thanks, Mayor Tillotson. Yeah, just to touch on Councillor Varga's point that it's a 30-year plan, you're right, it's a 30-year plan, but the majority of the funding decisions are front-loaded, is what we heard at Public Services, meaning that a lot of the infrastructure that needs to be built is going to be built soon, and then it lasts for 30 years. So there are significant decisions that need to be made in the next few years here, and, you know, I mean, they are of a kind of philosophical choice about where we're going, and really, and the location, I think, is definitely going to be one big piece about that. So yes, it's a long-term plan, but most of the decisions are going to happen soon.
Thank you. Any other comments on this report? All right, if we could vote. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Our last report is one for reception. Police Commission meeting of August 26.
I'll move the report for reception.
Second.
Any comments? Councillor Turnbull?
So my compliments to our regional fraud and theft division. They have uncovered down at Manenbury's and recovered 18 trailers, skidoos, tools, even a stolen sports car. So I don't know what the value of all that is, but there was obviously a lot of trailers being stolen in southeast Alberta. And the other one was, I was quite amazed that mental health calls in July are 34% increase when compared to June. So I guess that's the sign of the times with COVID and people not having jobs, and a lot of our citizens having their homes being having to sell because they can't make their mortgage payments, and having their cars taken back by the banks. So obviously there's a lot of stress in our city, and we can see that by the number of calls that are coming into our police department. We have to remember that the police department is 110 officers, is it? I guess something like that. So if you go through and look at the number of calls, I mean, it's just overwhelming, I'm sure, for the number of people we have there. But kudos on both those points. I think they're doing a great job in protecting people's properties and catching the crooks and making them go to jail and getting the stuff back for people who valued those properties. And hopefully we're going to see the end of this pandemic sooner than later, and we can get back to normal mental health and happiness rather than this dreaded despair that a lot of us feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Varga?
Through the chair, thank you, Your Worship. My question is to either Councillor Friesen or Dumanowski on the Police Commission. I always wonder, we're a very busy city with lots of things that are going on with our police force. Can you tell me how they handle the close contact thing with COVID going on now? Is there a protocol that they follow now, or how does it work now with actually having that personal contact with somebody that's supposed to be arrested, and whether they change their procedure or how that works just to keep them safe?
Well, if I could, Your Worship, through the chair to Councillor Varga, absolutely the procedure changes, but it changes in line with the provincial and/or if there are municipal restrictions. So obviously masking, the contact is sometimes it has to be closer than 6 feet, as you can imagine, if you're policing. and the proper sterilization of hands and all of those kinds of things. But sometimes a closer contact is necessary, and that can't be avoided. We do everything we possibly can to make sure that the officers are safe and the public citizens that they deal with are safe. But the procedures are not really any different from those employed that the rest of us have to, because they fall in line with the restrictions.
Councillor Dominowski?
Yeah, just to further what Councillor Friesen said, I know when masking was implemented, obviously they were doing and following the regulations, but when masking kind of softened, they continued to do that. There are many people in the public, and people in the public were continuing, as we observed, and some were very happy to not have to wear a mask again. The point being, they were trying to respect the wishes and the proximity that is inevitably going to have to happen in policing, whether it's just pulling someone over or dealing with them in an incident. There is that proximity issue, and they were trying to honor the respects and wishes of everybody. So they were doing that, and so as much as you can't make everyone happy, they were trying to do that in a safe manner as possible. And the other counter argument would be that they can't see their faces, et cetera. But we have a service, and it's not for me to sit here and talk about how well they've had to respond to this event called COVID. But certainly as an emergency service, you can't shut that down. You can't put a plexiglass in front of you. You can't do a number of things that we've all been able to do or work from home. They're front and center. They're right there, like a lot of other people, doctors, nurses, firefighters, you name it. But they've done it as respectfully and responsibly as possible. And I have had maybe one or two comments in the whole time. And that's pretty good when you think about policing in and of itself. So kudos to the department, and great question for asking.
Sorry, through the chair, I was just wondering whether some of them have got compromised because of facing it in hand-to-hand or face-to-face, or whether that happened within the police force, because it could be devastating, right? Because they all work together, and it comes into the station or however it's transmitted and brought forward. So I was a little more concerned about that part, right? Because they might not even know that they're in the combat with somebody that's affected with it, and it happens to come back to the police station and then turns into a big thing. But I don't think we've had any of that yet. I don't believe.
Councillor Varga, we haven't had an outbreak, if that's, I realize that's a concern of yours, and thank goodness for that. We haven't had an outbreak. We've had people tested and a couple of infections, but it hasn't been much different from the rest of the population. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to comment too on Councillor Turnbull's noticing that the Regional Property Crime Unit has been particularly effective since we implemented it. This is a cooperation between the RCMP and the Medicine Hat Police Service, and funded in good part by Alert. But they've had amazing results with rural crime. And if you can imagine stealing people's trailers, you think of the size of some of those trailers, and they just drive away with them, or I don't know what else was in there, maybe a boat and a car and so on, and all of that was recovered. And we went through a spate of theft from vehicles. So any personal property in a vehicle. So this is a good reminder for all of us to remember not to leave things in. First of all, don't leave our vehicles unlocked. But secondly, don't leave things out and on display that would be attractive to a thief, like your cell phone laying on the seat, or stuff that's worth money right in there, because that's what they go after. So it's a word of caution for all of us in terms of safety and theft.
Any other questions or comments on this report? All right, if we could vote. And that was unanimous. Thank you. Seeing no more business before this council, we're adjourned.